Serial killers are murderers who kill three or more people within a certain amount of time using the same means. There have been many throughout history that have been the subject of morbid fascination for many true crime fans or amateur sleuths. With serial murderers being a topic that enthralls so many, it lends itself quite well with cinema, with many filmmakers going out their way to provide audience with plenty of fictional serial killers. And with that being said, I'm going to take these fictional serial killers and see how they would be as villains for Batman. We are going to tear up Gotham with some brand new villains. All right, hey, let's get into it. First up, we have Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. Patrick Bateman, he's a part-time investment banker, part-time serial killer. He is a star of a horror comedy movie, American Psycho. Bateman is a character that is intended to be a subtle jab at corporate yuppie culture and society's obsession with wealth and status, which is probably why he snaps to start butchering people with an axe. The message is pretty clear. Bateman is recognized by many because he goes against the grain of corporate culture. Still, he's not exactly the best serial killer in movies because it's unclear if his rampage actually happened or if it's, all in his head. Still, Patrick is very good at his job, his murdering one, If it is indeed real, dude's a psycho. His status as an icon and a villain comes in large part of Christian Bale's outstanding performance. Okay, so Patrick Bateman, what would be his villain name in Gotham? It would be the Broker. His powers and skills would be he's a master manipulator with extreme charisma. There is charisma. You know, he's an expert with the axe and other melee weapons, highly intelligent, and he wields a hallucinogen gas that causes victims to experience intense delusions of wealth and status and paranoia before he kills them. He would be a Gotham elite who secretly indulges in sadistic murders. The Broker uses wealth and connections to cover up his crime. He targets people who he deems inferior in status, offering them business deals that ends in their gruesome deaths. Batman hunts him and his crimes escalates. But the Broker influence in Gotham's upper class makes him nearly unstoppable and untouchable. Next up, we have Pamela Voorhees. Before Jason Voorhees was a serial killer star of the Friday the 13th franchise, there was his mother, Pamela Voorhees, who appeared as the antagonist in the first movie. Residing in the fictional town of Crystal Lake, New Jersey, Pamela is a mother who lost her son, Jason, and began to take it out on the people of her town via murder. While many known her son would later be reanimated and turned out to be a monster with a machete, Pamela is the original villain of the franchise. Pamela is not the most physically intimidating because she seems like a regular middle-aged woman until she pulls out her big knife and starts getting to work. Her motives are somewhat understandable. Parents won't follow her examples, but they can definitely see why she is so angry at the people of the town due to the loss of her son. Although her son's legacy has largely eclipsed hers, Pamela is one of the best serial killers in movies, largely because no one saw her coming. Okay, so Pamela Voorhees, what is her villain name in Gotham? I'm thinking Mother Mercy. Some of her powers and skills would be peak human strength for her age, okay? Master of knives and combat, close combat, highly manipulative, able to sway others into doing her bidding. She uses a special serum that temporarily enhances strength and dulls pain. Mother Mercy believes Gotham's criminals are lost children in need of guidance. However, her guidance involves kidnapping, brainwashing, and if necessary, eliminating them. She believes Batman is leading Gotham's youth astray and sets her sight on making him her perfect son. Next up is Pearl. Pearl from 2022. That's the movie. Alright, so Pearl first appeared in 2022's X before reprising her role for the acclaimed horror prequel film Pearl later that year. Pearl might seem like an innocent young lady on the surface, but she harbors a dark secret. Her ambition and desire to escape her humble life led her to become a serial killer. Pearl will stop at nothing to achieve her goals, no matter who she has to kill in the process. Unlike other serial killers, Pearl doesn't murder out of premeditation. Most of her early crimes are passionate. Her innocent facade disappears once her dreams of stardom are crushed, replaced by her abuse towards her father and her love of butchering animals before graduating into humans, victims. Pearl becomes so prolific because she is often underestimated, which allows her to carry out her crimes for decades without being noticed. It's not until she crosses Maxine and her unsuspecting crew that Pearl finally meets her end. So Pearl, okay, what is her villain name in Gotham? The Scarlet. She is the master of deception and manipulation. Acrobatic level agility allow her to move gracefully and use sharpened film rails and knives as weapons. Hypnotic presence able to enhance weak-willed individuals. She's a failed Gotham actress obsessed with fame. The Scarlet slaughters those who gets in her way of her perfect performance. She believes Batman is the ultimate co-star and attempts to lure him into a violent theatrical showdown where one of them can take the final bow. Next up, we have John Doe from Seven. He is a serial killer with a really interesting MO. He prefers to kill his victim if they violate the biblical seven deadly sins: lust, greed, envy, wrath, pride, sloth, and gluttony. He usually ends their lives in ways that are fitting to whatever sin they committed, such as forcing a man guilty of gluttony to eat himself to death. His victims are all murdered in disturbing yet admittedly inventive ways. Doe may not be the best serial killer when it comes to not getting caught though, since he's basically turns himself in, you know. Still, Doe gets the last laugh as his glorious plans unfolds. Seven is not just an interesting watch because of its plot twist and bleak ending, but it's also because it's unnerving to see how John will take the life of his next victim according to whatever they're guilty of. Okay, John Doe, what is his villain name in Gotham? It would be the Cardinal Sin. Cardinal Sin, he's a mastermind. He plans crimes far in advance. Deep knowledge of Gotham corrupt elites and their hidden sins. Psychological warfare expert, manipulating his victims into playing out their own punishment. Use elaborate traps and riddles based on the seven deadly sins. He is a former professor turned executioner. Cardinal Sin sees Gotham as a cesspool of immorality. He selects his victim based on their vices and forces them to suffer poetic punishments. Each crime scene is a twisted sermon meant to expose the city's hypocrisy. Batman must race against time to decipher Cardinal Sin's cryptic message before more bodies drop. Next up, we have Asami Yamazaki. Audition is a Japanese movie that a lot of slasher fans probably haven't seen but definitely should. In this horror flick, Asami, a woman who auditions to be a widower's new romantic interest. Things soon become suspicious when the widower realizes that many of her previous employees have gone missing. For whatever reason, this doesn't immediately raise any red flags, and by the time the widower notices what's going on, it's already too late. Though she doesn't kill too many people on screen, it is largely implied that her victims are many and that she may have a good reason for doing so in some instances. Asami also has a large arsenal of weapons at her disposal, many of which are unconventional but effective, such as syringes and piano wire. So Asami, if she was a villain in Gotham, what would be her name? Maybe Silken Veil. She is a deadly assassin, specializing in seduction and psychological manipulation, trained in precision torture techniques using fine wires and needles, moves with a ghost-like silence, disappearing before detection, highly skilled in poison and paralyzing drugs. Silken Veil lures Gotham's wealthy and powerful into her web, disguising herself as the perfect companion before enacting her cruel retribution. She sees herself as an artist, crafting suffering into a slow, deliberate masterpiece. Batman struggles to track her down, as each of her victims willingly invites her into their lives, never suspecting the nightmare to come. Next up is Norman Bates, Psycho. In the original Psycho movie, serial killer Norman Bates only kills 2 people. However, thanks to the other entries in the series and a prequel show, it is now confirmed that Bates has killed 6 people, making him fit the serial killer criteria. Norman is a meek and seemingly gentle man who runs the Bates Motel with his mother. Deep down inside, there is a sinister desire to end the lives of his guests. So Norman Bates as a villain in Gotham, obviously I feel like his name should be the Caretaker. Okay, so he's an expert in blending in, making himself seem harmless, proficient with knives and other household weapons. He's unpredictable, shifting between a meek personality and then a violent killer. The Caretaker runs Gotham's most infamous abandoned motel, rumored to be haunted. Travelers who stay the night never check out. Their disappearances buried under a mountain of missing persons cases. Batman must navigate a psychological maze as the Caretaker's mind fractures between his own identity and the overbearing influence of Mother, who whispers commands from the shadows. Alright, next up is Dr. Hannibal Lecter. It's hard to say what makes Dr. Hannibal Lecter so alluring. Perhaps it's because he's so rarely polite and proper, even if no one can tell that gears are spinning in his head, and whatever they are working towards is not good. Hannibal is a former psychologist turned cannibalistic serial killer who has ranked up quite an enormous body count. He is perhaps the most intelligent of any fictional killer, always more than 2 steps ahead of his opponents, and can weasel his way out of just about any situation. Even though Hannibal doesn't look threatening at first glance, his unsettling demeanor is enough to make anyone's skin crawl. Dr. Hannibal Lecter as a villain in Gotham would be crazy, and I think his name would be the Gourmet. He would have genius level intellect with the unmatched knowledge of psychology and human behavior. Master Chef, using his victims as ingredients in high class Gotham meals. Exceptionally skilled in hand to hand combat, using surgical precision to kill, and he's able to manipulate even the most hardened criminals into trusting him. Gourmet operates within Gotham's high society, making it difficult for Batman to take him down without shaking the city's elite. His refined nature makes him a different breed of monster, one Batman can't simply punch into submission. Benjamin Linus from Lost. Benjamin has killed countless people in his defense of the island. He even helped the hostiles in killing a lot, okay, including his own father, who he watched die in agony. He personally murdered 14 people in the years after, including John Locke. Ben claims to be a leader and dedicated to the island, but ultimately he is only loyal to himself. He allows his own daughter to be killed rather than turn himself over to the mercenaries. While he does get vengeance for his daughter's death, that only proved that Ben would rather kill than compromise. In the end, Ben helps Hurley set things right for the island, and all he have been affected by it. But it seems that there's no redemption for him. He lied, killed, kidnapped, and tortured in the name of the island. But in reality, he did it for his selfish desire for power. What's terrifying about Linus is his utter lack of emotion. He kills as calmly as he pours a cup of coffee. Benjamin Linus, his Gotham villain name would be the Prophet. He would be a cult leader with a devoted following, manipulating Gotham's lost souls. He's a master strategic thinker, outplaying both heroes and villains with a long-term plan. Expert liar, able to talk his way out of any situation, controls a vast network of spies, gathering intelligence on every major Gotham player. The Prophet manipulates his followers into doing his bidding, making Batman question who's the real villain here. To stop him, Batman must dismantle an entire movement. Joe Goldberg. That's next, alright? So You is a perfect example of the public obsession with serial killers. Social media and other technology are ever present in this modern series. Joe is a New York City bookstore manager who quickly becomes obsessed with an aspiring writer. He tracks her movements using Facebook and Instagram, removing her friends and exes from her life to make room for their love. But that's just the first season. Throughout the 4 seasons of the show, we find out a lot about Joe, including the time he buried his ex-girlfriend, Candace, alive. Joe kills about a dozen and a half people during the series from New York to California. He gets married and has a son with a character named Love, who also has a penchant for killing. But eventually, he kills her too. Joe is charming and seemingly ordinary, but he constantly becomes obsessed with the women in his life, which often lead to murder. Suffice to say, you boast a non-stop killing spree, and Joe is one of TV's most ruthless killers. Joe, as a villain in Gotham, his name would be the Admirer. Stalker extraordinaire, able to blend into Gotham's shadows unnoticed. Expert hacker using technology to track and manipulate his targets. Knife-wielding assassin, prefer quiet, intimate kills. Master of disguise, the Admirer fixates on Gotham's women, eliminating anyone he deems unworthy of their love. Batman must act fast before another love story ends in tragedy. What if the Admirer ends up running into Selena Kyle, and the Admirer, his job is to eliminate Bruce Wayne? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy, because that would be his competition at that point, especially if she's being seen with him. Man, I don't know. That'd be dope. Walter White, Breaking Bad. Walter White is one of the most memorable TV characters of all time. What's most frightening about Walter is that he doesn't seem like a villain, at least not until it's too late. His character development is nothing short of magnificent. The first person Walter kills in the first episode is Emilio, which is in self-defense. The first true murder he commits is Crazy 8, and it takes him 2 episodes to convince himself to do it. By the 5th season, however, Walter is a ruthless drug lord who kills even his closest associate, like Mike, for any number of reasons. This one-time meek high school science teacher slowly becomes a suburban Scarface with an ocean of bodies in his wake. Walter left a body count of nearly 300 people, many indirectly, but enough directly to make him one of the most ruthless TV serial killers ever. Walter White, Gotham villain name, of course it has to be Heisenberg. It has to be. He's an expert chemist, capable of crafting deadly drugs, toxin, and explosive. Ruthless strategist who manipulates Gotham's criminal underworld, operates through proxies, rarely exposing himself to direct confrontation, highly adaptable, able to turn any situation in his favor. Heisenberg doesn't just kill, he profits. His empire stretches through Gotham's black market, supplying chemicals to villains like Scarecrow and Joker. He's dying of cancer, but before he goes, he wants to leave an empire that even Batman can't topple. Last but not least, we have Dexter Morgan. Dexter is the most well-known serial killer themed TV series. Dexter is found in a pool of blood by police officer Harrison Morgan as a drug dealer killed his mother with a chainsaw. Dexter was 3 years old. As a boy, he became fascinated with killing things, and Harry teaches him a code that allows him to kill people. Dexter hides in plain sight and works as a blood spatter analyst for the Miami PD. This situation lets him keep a step ahead of both the police and rival killers. His code only allows him to kill other predators, such as himself, which leads to many tense standoffs during the series run. Dexter Morgan tallied 144 known kills, with plenty of potential unknown kills throughout his lifetime. He is an efficient and ruthless killing machine. Dexter Morgan as a Gotham villain would be insane. I love it. I love the idea. And his name would be the Red Right Hand. Some of his powers and skills would be expert in forensic science and crime scene cleanup, leaving behind no evidence, which would be crazy that Batman wouldn't find anything. Precision in close quarters combat, using scalpels, needles. Master at blending into law enforcement, gaining trust before striking. Dark passenger, instinct grants him heightened reflexes in combat. The Red Right Hand only kills criminals, making his morality ambiguous. Unlike other villains, He respects Batman and may even see him as a kindred spirit. Each of these Gotham villains will present Batman with a unique challenge, whether psychological, strategic, or physical. Which one of these villains you think would fit perfectly in the world of Gotham and make a decent villain for Batman? Let me know in the comments, and I hope y'all enjoyed this. Alright, peace.